because you just turned. Go ahead, tell us.
Yeah, 44.
44. You just turned 44.
I just turned 44.
So you really did. You got in. You decided on motorsports as a career in your mid-30s.
Yeah, pretty much early to mid-30s. Yeah.
And let's face it, you're not built like your typical successful race car driver. I mean, you're 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah. And
you know, big guy.
200 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think in terms of obstacles when it comes to being a professional race car driver, I mean, you pretty much overcame most of them. You're not the right size.
I've never seen any of that.
You're too old. All these things, you know. I mean,
I don't see any boundaries. I mean, boundaries for other people. I mean, that's great. You want to say I'm too old? Well, then don't do it at my age. You know, don't tell me I can't do it at my age, or you know. And I'm not a typical 44-year-old. I mean, I'm fairly fit, and I've had a life where I've gotten paid to be active my whole entire life. I've never sat behind a desk, so I don't come at it with that mentality. I know I've been lucky. I've been really, trust me, I know how lucky I've been. But yeah, boundaries are for other people, you know, and that's great. That's if you guys, someone else wants to live their life and go, okay, here's my set of rules that I've got to live my life by. Okay, that's fantastic, but those are your rules. Those aren't my rules. And
so what do you think sets you apart then? Clearly you're a talented driver. Well, like you said, the pool's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, being a minority helps. I mean, it's because you just stand out. I mean, there's no two ways about it. People recognize that, so that's definitely helped me because that'll regardless will at least make people remember me, which definitely helps.
How that was, you know, did you see a lot of hurdles coming in into motorsports as a black athlete, or did you?
No, it's actually really funny. I mean, you know, cycling was the same way. I mean, it was. I grew up in Westchester County, New York, and you know, a block away from 3 synagogues. So, you know, it really for me wasn't a big jump as far as that not kind of being isolated. It really wasn't. And you know, you're always going to get people that don't like you for whatever reason, and you know, and sometimes they'll put something on it, you know. It's like, okay, well, you know, he's you know, more successful or getting more opportunities or whatever, and so I don't like him because he's black, you know. And it's just, and you kind of go, all right, whatever. But those guys are few and far between, and I say the same thing in motorsports was true in cycling is that, you know, when you're out there in the trenches with the guys, you don't really care. I mean, 99% of the people I run into don't. It just really isn't an issue, and I don't treat it as an issue. I didn't come in here with a chip on my shoulder. You know, I don't set out to be the best black driver. I set out to be the best driver I can. So if someone is inspired because I'm a black guy out there doing it in a sport where there, you know, not too many other faces that look like mine, then great. I mean, I'm more than happy to use that to help them be inspired. But personally, my goals are to be the best that I can be.
But being competitive, that's a big giant hole when you lose that, isn't it?
Oh, it was massive, and I just didn't realize that. You know, at the end of the day, I tell people I race. That's what I do. I've been doing it since I was 12 years old, and that's what. It's where my mental acuity is behind the wheel of something or racing something and being competitive. And so it's I
mean, it really it's more than just more than just as a label. It kind of defines who you are, doesn't it?
I would, you know, it's really funny to say that, but yeah, I would say that, yeah, it really does define who I am, and it's just where my focus is. It's just where my comfort zone is. It's for me, getting into a race car, getting into a bike race, getting into any sort of competition, it's just everything kind of comes together, and it just feels natural. So that's it. I never realized that until I got into motorsports, that how much that's just how I'm wired. Mm-hmm. And you know, but it's just funny because it really was never. I mean, I know a lot of guys grow up wanting to race cars, and I think everyone does. You know, you want to race cars, you want to be an astronaut, you want to be a policeman or a firefighter or whatever. But you know, some of those are just dreams. They're always just going to be just dreams, and that's honestly what I thought motorsports was. And you know, then working with the 3R Racing guys was great because that helped the skill set that I didn't have from cycling, which was the engineering and the car feedback and car control that we were giving, to the team and the engineers. Like, how do I want to set up a car to do what I want it to do? How do I tell the engineers what I want the car to do? And there's this whole entire skill set that was just great. It was like a sponge. I was just soaking everything up.
It really is a different language, isn't it? I mean, it's particularly to find two people, the driver and the engineer, who can speak the same language, and he can actually interpret what you're saying and make it work on the car. That's makes a big difference when you find that right combination, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the great thing too is that 3R Racing was right down the street from me. It was about a 15-minute drive from my house, and Will Moody is well renowned as one of the best engineers in the business, and then Dax Robb, who's equally as good, and I think in a few years he will be seen in the same light. Dax and I had this great chemistry, and he had as much passion for making cars fast as I did, and winning. So Dax Robb he and I would go in on a Friday night, and I'd bring over a 6-pack of beer, and this is 5 o'clock, 5:30, and he and I would literally sit there and drink beer and stare at the car. And just talk. I mean, literally the point, like, his wife would call, and Dax would wander over and pick up the phone, and he'd go, yeah, I'll be home in a bit. And she's like, it's midnight, on a Friday night. And this is I found that guy who, thought about it the same way I did. This is that, that was I would much rather be sitting on a Friday night talking to Dax, figuring out how to make the race car faster, than going out with all of my friends to go drinking. So that was my Friday night.